The Pat McAfee thing is the exact same thing that happens in every fucking sports franchise, entertainment franchise. We've talked about it with Halloween, and we're going to talk about it again tonight. Um, it's the meddling, right? And believe me, I'm not defending WWE creative; they don't fucking deserve it. But all indications seem to be the call came from up above. And how many times has a sports owner got in the way of X coach needing to be fired or X player needing to be traded or I need that guy, so go get him no matter how much it costs, and or Halloween movies being delayed because fucking you name the partner, Trankus and whomever, depending on which film it is, can't get on the same fucking page and nothing comes of it. Or right in our wheelhouse tonight, Star Wars post George Lucas, right? Like how many times has too many chefs in the kitchen been an issue there? That's what I feel like has happened in regards to the McAfee bullshit. And it's like, oh, ticket prices are too expensive. No fucking shit. Like, jeez. And then who was it that had it? Someone had. Um, so I guess they did 25% off until Raw started for
Ended.
Saturday anyway. The first like 4 hours of that, Ticketmaster was glitching and making the tickets 25% more.
So
And there
nobody
was
knows the difference.
You're right.
Wow.
Somebody did, but
Good Lord.
yeah. You know what? It might have been Meltzer that blew the horn on that one. And I'm not a Meltzer guy, but they had photo and video evidence of it. So, just
I mean, that's all just who
wild.
checked their inbox first, because everybody sent that to everybody, I'm sure.
Oh, no doubt. Let's throw the hammer down, right? Johnny, you were mentioning the baby face pool is weak.
Yep.
I would say the heel pool is weak. I mean, people cheer for Seth, and I'm assuming he's going to be face moving forward. Unless something's changed with Roman, I'm assuming he's basically never going to be here, even though he's probably going to be champ. You know what? I might be quickly coming to your side here.
Hold on a second. Let me timestamp this to be like, oh wow, Sean agrees with Johnny. Okay.
I mean, I don't really know shit all about Obafemi because I don't watch NXT, but people seem high on him.
That's really the only fresh, matchup that I'd want to see heel Punk in. That's it, and I don't think Oba's ready for that. I don't even think he's ready for Brock. But I'm glad they're doing it.
I think the thing with that is just that he does have the presence that you would need for someone to potentially take things to the next level. I've just never really heard his promo skills. I don't know if he's even... It's like, I don't even know, because that's half the thing. You have to be able to talk on the mic. You have to be able to, get your point over. It's one of the reasons why Heyman was always with Lesnar, is because Brock's not a great promo. So
that's a prime example of why bringing up talented guys who don't have great mic skills with managers was the best thing the 80s ever did, because Brock is the prime example of that. Brock first run, like when he was, next big thing, summer of 2002, could not cut a promo for shit. But by 2003, 2004, after having spent a year and a half, 2 years, listening to Paul Heyman every week, his promos with The Undertaker were great. And from his standpoint, not just, from Undertaker carrying the water, but Brock could punch at that level because he'd spent so long, listening to Paul and being around Paul, who is, I'd argue the greatest talker of this generation, and that's why it works. Like, that's why killing off managers in the 90s was the worst thing the business did, because you had to stand on your own 2 feet, no matter how fresh you were. And it sucked, which is why if you look at a lot of the acts in the 90s that got over are ones that had managers in a weird sense. Like Mark Merrow got over in 96 because of Sable. You know, like it's
Maybe a hot take, but I liked Mark Marrow in the ring.
Mark Marrow was a great worker. He
I
really
liked him a
was.
lot. What, you know what? Fun fact, at least according to him. So please don't say that this is verified. It's coming straight from Mark Marrow's mouth. But apparently, he was the first guy in WWF to get a guaranteed contract.
He was.
That's wild. Like if
He
you put
was.
that on trivia, I think most, even like I'm not saying die-hard wrestling fans, but pretty, up to date wrestling fans would never guess that in a million years. I know I never would have.
See,
He
it's
wouldn't have
weird
been in the
because
first 100 names.
most people think it was Pillman because he came the next year.
I wouldn't have had him either.
And got the big guaranteed bag when he came over and then had the car accident. And it's like Vince was the prime. Like, you hear Mark's stories, and I believe Mark's stories because I've heard them from not just Mark, but I mean, it's basically the same stories you hear from like the Bruce Pritchards and JJ Dillon. You know, they all kind of tell the same sort of story that he'd sell you on the opportunity. You know, this is what you can make. This is your floor. You know, but if you get over, you get into the big programs, this is your ceiling. And it's the big, like, you dangle the Hogan in front of him. If you can get to that level, you're making, fuck you money in that time period. And it's just, then WCW in the early 90s started throwing around the guaranteed contract with Ted Turner, and it changed the business forever. And that's why a lot of guys didn't make the jump. Like if you hear the stories in the 80s and the early 90s of guys that, had the opportunity to jump. Like Jim Cornette tells the story, of the Midnight Express taking a meeting with Vince in 88, 89. And he didn't sell them on contract value. He sold them on, look at this merchandise. We can make action figures of you. That was the selling point for him. It wasn't, the stories, the matchups, which, don't get me wrong.
Somewhere George Lucas is having a hard on.
Well, as he should be, because it is, I would argue that is the one thing that separated them from everyone else, was the merchandising, because you could walk into, a Kmart in the 80s or a Sam's Club or, whatever random local mom, Woolworths, and see the WWF on the shelves. That's how you endear kids. Like how many of our favorite shows from when we were kids are favorites because they had the action figures? Not because of what they showed on TV or anything. And like that's...
I mean, anyone ever get Beetleborg action figures? Those were amazing. Fuck the Power Rangers action figures. The Beetleborg action figures were where it was at. I got two names in terms of who I'd like this heel Punk to go up against. But I don't think they're things that can happen like if it did happen Sunday. I don't think either one can happen for months and months and months on end. And I also think heel Punk would work better in a stable. A stable that's actually, together and not half injured and could do something and maybe push some younger talent. But Cody Rhodes would be the one because they've teased that for like fucking 3 years now. And then if Kevin Owens was a face when he came back, I could get on board with that. But other than those two, and as you mentioned, Johnny Oba, and I don't think Oba is ready for that in terms of being able to cut a promo from what I've seen anyways.
How do you think the ring work is there? He would be exposed so badly. It would be William Regal versus Goldberg.
Oh, God. Well. We know how that
let's not think about that.
I love
Oba. We know how that
I think he is the 5-tool player. He is, like, when I look at him, I see this guy can go places because he has the aura. And that's something that is sorely lacking in a lot of these young guys coming up, is that aura. And Oba Femi has, like, when he walks through that, like, I will give him that. His entrance is the most enthralling and wrestling. I love it. And in the words of Bruce Pritchard,
I can't stand it.
I love it because it's catchy. It's addicting. Like, I'll find myself
feels like a jumbo Ric Flair just doing.
I love it because I can hear myself.
Like, Ric Flair walk.
The music has that beat and it's fun and it's like, it's catchy. I find myself sometimes just walking down the hallway, just doing the arms because it's just.
Oh, for the love of God!
It's just fun. And then, in the words of Bruce Pritchard, the bell rings.
I mean, Johnny, you're not wrong. Just when you see him come down to the ring. The kids are doing it in the stands and everything, and it's they're just enthralled by him, and that's and a lot of the everybody else as well. So it's not surprising that they're pushing him at least somewhat right now. We got to wait and kind of see what happens with Lesnar. I have a feeling we're gonna have a 5-minute match, unfortunately, but I feel like that since
Suplex City.
yeah, we've seen that one too many times, haven't we? I feel like Lesnar's coming to the end of his career, and I think he's going to start kind of putting some people over, not everybody.
The big one. See, that's funny that you should mention that, because that's the opposite of what people are hearing. That the plan is, in fact, for Brock to be untouchable until his last match.
Yeah,
Until Gunther retires him?
Until he gets retired by Gunther, which I will go on record as saying that is the stupidest waste of a gimmick for that guy in history. Gunther doesn't need to be the legend killer. He doesn't need to be the career killer. He doesn't need it. Let him go in the ring and wrestle for 20 minutes with a guy who can stand at his level. That's a guy that I want to see a Punk program with for real. Not the bullshit they had, but like I say this, like this is my personal opinion.
Now their match
you give me a
pay-per-view. They just didn't get
I say this, and I will say it to the death. You give me a pay-per-view, like if you're going to continue this 3-4 match pay-per-view trend that goes 2.5 hours, fine. But you give me Gunther and CM Punk going 60 minutes in a main event, and it will be the happiest I have been with that product in a decade. Because of that match, oh boy.
Are you trying to get Phil killed? Because that's what it feels like.
Phil can go.
Feels like you're trying to get him killed. I don't know, man.
He did 60 with Max, 2 years ago?
But I mean,
3 years ago?
A lot longer than 2 years ago now.
I mean, if you want an hour-long match with Gunther, just give him Ilya Dragunov so they can just chop the shit out of each other. And
see, that's not what I want. That's not what I want. That is a match that is a 15 to 20-minute sprint. Those two can't do a marathon.
Sounds like
that would end with somebody dead.
I mean, the thing is yeah,
they're sprinters, not marathon runners. Together.
Ladies and gentlemen, believe it or not, this is the Phantom Empire YouTube channel, and more specifically, the House of the Empire show. And tonight, we got a kind of a loaded show. We got Maul Shadow Lord episodes 3 and 4 to discuss. And I'm going to put Johnny on the spot.
Oh boy.
I'm going to put Johnny on the spot, actually over something that was said last week. I had to go back and check. So he didn't know that was coming.
Not even
we're going to preview CinemaCon a little bit, because there's apparently some really big things happening there this week. We're going to tell you why the Halloween franchise has so many fucking issues getting something to the end of the tunnel where the light is when it comes to a movie and or a TV show, and why the game they've been able to just sort of go about their business. And we're going to announce a new show. We won't give you the title of it, though, because we don't have one. But we'll tell you what it's about and what you can expect. All that and more right now on the House of the Empire. Welcome back to House of the Empire. I am Sean, taking on hosting duties for the first time in a while. And no, it will not be a regular thing going forward on this show. Just had a feeling I might have to delegate a little bit more tonight. So I'd rather just introduce the topics and sit back for most of them if I'm unable to keep up with the fast pace that Randy and Johnny bring. By the way, it's the first time it's just been the three of us in some time. Also, we said it off air. I'll say it again on air. I hate this fucking software. You see that thumbnail there that is clearly not properly on the screen?
That is terrible.
It's the proper size. This is just the software and how it's chosen to put it on the screen. Like, what are we doing? Unbelievable.
At least the background version of it isn't chopped to hell.
Right? It's the same fucking picture.
I got nothing. I got nothing.
Yeah,
I said it. I said it before we started. You know, when I hopped in the green room just a few minutes before you guys did, and I couldn't send a message in the private chat. I'm like, in my head, I'm like, oh, it's gonna be one of those nights, isn't it?
Unbelievable. So let's get this one out of the way right before we get into the mall stuff. We have a new show coming to the channel. There will be a bunch of different faces involved, but primarily on a week-to-week basis, it will be myself, Jade, and Randy. Finally, something we've talked about doing on this channel since well before Halloween Kills came out. It's a passion project. It's a project that's probably not going to drive a ton of traffic to the channel, but something I wanted to do for a long time. And we are going to do a Smallville rewatch podcast. And well, I mentioned the three parties that'll be involved week to week. We also are going to have Johnny pop in on select episodes, who I believe is going to rewatch the series as well. Tommy is going to be watching the series for the first time. He has a baby coming, obviously. So he'll watch as he can and get in where he can. Randy has never watched Smallville either, so we got a bunch of first-time watchers here on this little show that we're going to be doing, and it's going to be fun. And then my brother is probably going to pop in occasionally for this. This is one he probably can't avoid. It's just going to depend on scheduling and his work and yada yada blah blah. But what we're going to do is we are basically going to watch 4 episodes a week and come back. We're not sure how we're going to distribute it yet, but basically we're going to do a 60 to 80-minute episode about the 4 episodes. And that episode will likely only be available to patrons in its full, ordeal, and trimmed down versions of it for each individual episode will probably be what's released on the channel. So we might record for 85 or 90 minutes one night. And let's say it was let's say it's 80 minutes and it was evenly split 20 minutes apiece for 4 episodes. Well, there might be some just general banter in there that's not included in the public videos that go up that'll be much shorter. So we're going to do that, and we'll probably take a little bit of breaks in between each season, because even doing 4 episodes a week, like that's not even a season a month. So probably take us 5 or 6 weeks to get through a season, and then we'll take a break and go from there. So if you're a Smallville fan, come on out, and it'll be a way to get a few new people over to the channel for sure. But looking forward to it. It's a long time coming, and I'm trying to look at this. Johnny is sending us behind the scenes pictures. Ugh, God. Yeah. Yeah. That's pretty embarrassing. Those of you who tuned in at the beginning of this heard us talking some wrestling. And in my opinion, I'm not just saying this because I'm a CM Punk fan. Given Roman Reigns' contract status, nothing good comes out of him winning Sunday. At all. Nothing good. but he's probably going to win. Anywho, Maul Shadow Lord, episodes 3 and 4 are out, fellas. And I have my thoughts, but Johnny, I'm going to go down some risky territory here. And I already spoke to Randy about this a little bit. Is we don't know if Zach threw you off last week or if you just got, maybe you were multitasking, but your thoughts were so all over the place on the
They
first
were.
2 episodes.
They really were.
Where it was like, and like, I know how to kind of
I
approach you
flip
with
flopped
these
like
things,
4
'cause
times during the course of the episode.
oh my god, yeah! I said to Randy, I'm like, I don't know if he liked it or hated it. I don't even know if he knows.
I don't.
And
I didn't.
and it's like
I was a
no,
coin just flipping
was
in
good.
the air the entire
it's
episode.
It's not great, but it was good. And then like 10 minutes later, you know, it's could be on thin ice. I'm like, what? Like,
No,
what are we doing?
You're absolutely right. I mean, in the days after that, I was thinking about it myself. I'm like, I said I liked it, and then I said it was on thin ice. And I'm like, I don't, and that led to me sort of coming to my own conclusion that I don't even know what to think of this series. And spoiler alert, 4 episodes in, I still don't know what to think of this series.
I thought you gave a checklist last week of things that you said you needed to happen.
Okay.
And one was
you did my homework for me, so I'm happy.
One was more story.
Yep.
2 was more. We'll call her Devon for now.
Okay.
The Devon Talon thing. You wanted more on that front.
Okay.
But you also wanted the action to be able to keep up while diving more into the story.
Okay.
And I would say that both of these episodes did that in spades. I thought you got story from every. And we're just going to review both episodes together and then give our scores at the end for each individual episode because I can't figure out which is which now and where it cuts off. I think it cuts off as Devon exits, right? Maul says, I'm going to need that back, Devon, and then the door closes.
Pretty much.
I think. But I thought these
I think it actually ends with the Imperial Star Destroyer flying in.
Yeah, and the
episode 4.
Imperial March remix. Yeah. First of all, the score in this show has been fucking phenomenal.
Absolutely.
Right there with Andor. And I actually I don't want to say it's full on Andor because Andor is a really high bar to live up to. But I would argue that, yeah, the first 2 episodes were good, but I'm going to say that these next 2 episodes were even better than the first 2 episodes. And it felt like it made those first 2 episodes a little more complete to me, in my opinion. The same way Andor episode 3 really, makes the whole first 3 episodes blend together really well. It's kind of its own arc, and then you go on to I think it's the Aldani arc after that in Andor. I don't know what to expect from this show moving forward. Obviously, the Empire's here, but let's just dive into it. Johnny, we'll go to you first. Initial thoughts on 3 and 4, because again, based off your checklist last week, I thought they hit a lot of what you said you wanted.
I mean, they definitely did in a lot of those things. There was definitely a lot more Devon in the course of these episodes. You got a better, look, not necessarily into her mindset, but just the interactions with her and Maul in episode 3 were much more. They were the focal point of that episode for me, anyway. And then 4, you got to see, her and her master, and and then you got the combat, which always good. But like there are points like as far as the story goes that like 4 episodes in, I still don't understand the direction the way I would hope to. In not so much in a sense of like it feels like there are so many oars pedaling the story front that it just like at times it feels like one oar is pulling the ship left, the other oar is pulling the ship right, and there's a third, like it feels like it's zigzagging in a way that I don't want to say gets confusing, but to me it's like it's like I had this thought when I was watching episode 4 that it's like there are some parts of this that feel like Filoni picked up everything that George left behind and said, well, we don't have a cartoon to put out this year, so let's just do all this. And some of it's going left, some of it's going right, and some of it's pointing in circles. And it just like I'm confused on the direction. And I think that that's not, again, that there isn't one, just that there are so many plots in motion to me that it's like hard for me to understand the full picture yet, because we don't know yet. We don't see the full picture yet. I think, like, to me, I think, and this was something I said watching episode 4 when the Imperial Destroyer pulled up at the end. Okay, now the story really starts, because now you get the actual sort of antagonist in the picture, which is the Empire. And it was just sort of, everything was sort of setting the table to try and give you things. Like, I still don't quite understand. I will apologize because names are not something I'm always particularly great with in characters. But like the cop, Two Shoes' partner, could not tell you his name.
Lawson.
Thank you. Like, I don't understand quite Lawson's hate of the Empire, and I don't know if it's just something I'm missing, but like, he feels like a character who has a genuine distrust of the Empire, and I think there's a reason for that. I just don't know what it is yet.
They
How
said it
close
in
did
the
you pay
episode.
attention to the episodes?
Which one? It may have just gone completely over my head.
His ex-wife, mother of his son, works for the Empire.
Right. I got that part. I thought there was more to in that, because like, to me that feels, I don't want to say surface level, but like, it feels like there's more there. It's kind of,
well,
what I'm
he
saying.
also made the comments of saying he knows what the Empire does to planets. Like, through her,
Right.
he understands what they do, which is why he doesn't trust them.
But see, like, to me, like, and again, this could just be a me thing. Like, I may just be overthinking this to the nth level, and I won't deny that, because, again, like I said last week, this feels like a series that should have been a binge. Like, I feel like if I'd have had all 8 episodes and all the facts in front of me, I wouldn't be as confused as I am right now. And like, I'll admit,
let's start with there's 10 episodes and not 8.
Why did I say 8? I thought it was a 4-week series, not a 5-week series. I guess that's where the loss went.
It's a 5-er.
Okay.
I actually think Lawson's probably been my favorite character so far.
He's the most intriguing to me, because I think there's more that, like, I think there's a specific thing that he knows about. I don't know what that thing is. Like, it just, like, I don't know if maybe he knows about. Well, I guess it couldn't happen yet because we're not there in the timeline. Because we're pre-Solo in this timeline, right?
Yes. We don't know by how much, but
like, see, that's the confusing part, right? Like, you know things that come after and things that before, so it's like, I think that's part of my problem, is placing it in the timeline. Because like, I keep wanting to be like, when we started episode 1 and 2, I'm like, well, this has to be after Solo, right? Because Maul's in control of the underworld and everything, and that kind of didn't fully coalesce until, like, it just, but that's a me thing. I think there's more to Lawson's.
There might be,
and I think like that, like, I think there's a specific thing that occurred. Like, maybe it's something his wife encountered that he told that he just hasn't told us yet, or something, or his own personal thing he experienced with the Empire. Like, I just feel like everything we know about him is surface level. Like, I think there's more. I think that's part of my problem, is that internally I feel like there's more meat on this bone, and I want it. I want to get, like, it's been appetizers. I want to get to the main course. I think once we get to the end of all 10, and that actually helps. That actually helps a great deal, knowing that it's 10, not 8, because, like, to my mind, it's like we're at the halfway point, and now the bad guy shows up. Whereas if we're only, we're almost at the, I guess we'd actually be at the 40% mark, right? So, like, it feels better to me knowing that there's extra time, that, like, there's more time I hadn't accounted for in my own internal clock for this all to make sense. And I think going forward, it's going to start making more sense as we get to see more interactions, more story, more more, because like I've been feasting on the action.
I think they've built this really cool setting with Janix. Feels like Blade Runner. Feels like Nar Shaddaa. Feels a little bit like the Coruscant slums. Even Gotham City in certain iterations of Batman. Obviously more futuristic, but and the cop perspective versus the gangster perspective is unique to me because we've never really dove into local security like that other than in Andor. And now you're seeing a little bit of a different side of it. And the one thing that rings true is kind of like what Maul said at the end of the second episode. It's like, hey, it might be you versus me or them versus them, but one thing we can all agree on is we don't want the Empire here. So it adds a sort of a unique spin to that. I think the cops storyline will, or at least I hope it fleshes itself out. I mean, I don't know any spoilers in regards to that. I think Lawson's been really cool in the dynamic him and Two Boots have, and the banter. It kind of reminds me of Cassian and K2 a little bit. So I definitely appreciate that. I think what you're seeing is a story about Maul just trying to gain power to eventually, challenge Sidious and company. And then from the Lawson's perspective, you have I don't want to say absentee father, but a father who clearly loves his kid, but is very distracted by his job and isn't mentally getting it in terms of what's going on with his kid and what his kid wants. And I think that's a whole other dynamic. I think there's a lot more there to play out with his character, and then whether Devin becomes Talon in terms of name, which I don't think would happen in the show anyways. I think we can all agree, spiritually speaking, the character is meant to be that character that Darth Lucas, George.
I watched the
George
prequel
Lucas,
trilogy. That name applies.
yeah, intended to have. But I also think from a fan service perspective, I 100% believe they have a main event that they're trying to build up to, and whether it happens this season or it happens next season, or if they get a third season out of it, because originally people thought this was only going to be one season and done.
Yeah.
I mean, the last episode of season one's even called finale, and then boom, they got a renewal before a single episode had aired. And when you think about this possible main event, there's no reason in terms of where we're going why it can't happen. Might be too early for it to happen, but I think this is very likely heading towards Maul versus Vader, because they're probably never going to do it in live action. Something tells me Ray Park's never going to get a role in his life again with all the shit that's gone on there. Not that Sam Witwer couldn't do it, by the way. I just don't know if, given their whole recasting thing, I don't know if they would go for that or not. But I think that this is going to lead to Vader versus Maul. Again, might not be season one, might be a bit of a cat and mouse game for a bit, but Vader for me is the perfect reason for Maul to get abandoned on Malachor when we meet up with him in Rebels, but that's still many, many years away. So I don't know, but I feel like they're heading down that road. Randy, what about you? What do you think of episodes 3 and 4? And do you think Vader is the end game for the show?
So as far as 3 and 4 go, they were pretty well paced. Like it felt like we were really getting into it. All of a sudden, it's over. And I'm like, wait a second. I looked at it. I was like, damn, that was a fast 23 minutes. Holy shit. I think both episodes were like 23 minutes each, and it was just boom, 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 and I didn't have any problem with it. I just wanted more, but it's animation. Honestly, some of these episodes are longer than some of like the actual TV shows like they put out there. Like, well, the one episode of The Acolyte, for as an example. But the action's been there. I like what we're learning about new characters, which is always, one of the things we're always worried about. We're like, okay, this we know where Maul's story starts, we know where it ends, how it ends, and there's all this stuff in between, like little, and we've seen little offshoots here and there, whether it be through Solo or Rebels. Now we get to kind of fill in the blanks, which this is one of the things I've been excited about. But these new characters they brought in, whether it be Devin or Lawson, or even Daki, which I've really enjoyed that character, even though it hasn't been on screen a whole lot. It's been fun, and they've done great with the choreography, like with the lightsaber duels they've done so far. The music's been outstanding. I just sit there and I'm picking up, going, "Wait a second, that's the Imperial March. Oh, that's a nice remix of the Imperial March. I'm really digging this." Even down to some of the sound effects and cues they used in the Phantom Menace with Maul when he's just kind of toying around with Devin. Like there's these little things that you're like, wow, they used that sound effect in the Phantom Menace. That's really cool. That's just part of Maul. I do think at some point we have to get a Maul Invader. It has to happen. But obviously, the Inquisitors are first, and obviously that's what Episode 4 kind of signifies. Is now is the time where we get to finally see the Inquisitors. It's funny to me, though, knowing that one of them basically was killed by Ahsoka in Tales of the Jedi, and that the other one is Merrick from Ahsoka. So it's interesting because that with Merrick, he obviously dies and is brought back by the Night Sister magic. So like they're trying to tie all this stuff together as only Filoni can do. And it's going to be interesting to see just kind of how they play out in this series. Obviously, having a second season helps because now, even though, yes, we're racing to the finale, and I don't know how much character development we're going to get out of like Lawson or really Devin or any of the new characters. But it'd be kind of cool if, like, say with Lawson, I like the fact that he's conflicted. I like the fact that he wants to be around his son, but also it feels like even though, yes, he's burying himself in his work, there's a reason there, and you can tell that it's eating away at him. And I hope we get that reveal. I really do. I want to see that come full circle for him, because Johnny's right. There's more to this guy. There really is something there that we haven't seen yet that I really hope we get the opportunity to, and that he just doesn't end up getting killed off for some reason or noble sacrifice or something. I do want to see what's really going on in this guy's head. But all in all, I'm having a blast with it. Sean, I agree with you. These two episodes were definitely better than the first two, and they kind of help add more to the first two episodes to kind of give you a broader view of the story and where we're going. So I can't wait for next week, to be perfectly honest.
I think one of the hardest things to do, specifically with the Star Wars brand, is to create new characters that people find likable, because everybody gets so attached to legacy characters. I mean, rightfully so too. In a lot of cases, some of them haven't gotten their just desserts, and I, I look at Lawson. I look at what the fuck's his name, Okie Dokie or Okie Day or whatever. I know the actor that plays him, whose name is slipping my mind. But if you're a commercial person, he's in the Allstate.
Are you talking about Jedi Master Daki?
Daki.
Yes, Daki. Very famous actor plays him.
Yeah, Dennis Haysbert.
That's it. So, like, I've really enjoyed his performance. I've enjoyed Lawson's performance. Devin, I thought, had layers to her in this episode that built on what we've seen in the first two episodes. I forget the little alien gangster's name, the little two-face fucker who was riding around in all the bigger suits. Maul's prisoner, but he's been some fun like comic relief. I think they've done a really good job of adding new characters. That it's just not like, oh well, who gives a shit about these guys? Like Maul's Mandalorian girl there, I forget her name, Rook Cast or something like that. She was in previously in Rebels or Clone Wars. It's one of the two.
I would say Clone Wars, since Vanessa Marshall is the one voicing her.
Clone Wars, yes, it would be Clone Wars because Rebels is still quite far away. But like the rest of Maul's team, other than the Spybot guy, is pretty cannon fodder-ish so far. So I'm glad that they've at least hit on the other characters. Yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed it. Anybody else have anything they want to bring up from these episodes?
Not inherently about the episodes, just a thought that's sort of seeding itself deeper into my core that I kind of started feeling watching this episode. The more and more we keep getting these new projects in that post 3 to present time period that continue to introduce Jedi who survived Order 66 is weakening that moment for me in a big way.
I mean, we knew that there were a handful,
but I think that's the problem, is that this handful keeps growing.
So far, it's really still only been a handful. It hasn't been a lot of them.
I feel like, and I mean, this could just be like sort of an overinflated sense, but like I feel like we're close to 24 at this point.
Oh, it's probably significantly more than that, to be honest. It should be. Like, it honestly really should be. You got Grogu's part of that mix. I forget.
They hit on it in Obi-Wan because of that whole area where Jedi travel through to seek shelter. I mean, they all had to run and hide. As at least the ones that weren't at the temple, and the ones that didn't get taken out that were in major battles during the Clone Wars. So, but the thing is doing that has allowed them to try to grasp at different story notes and try to say, hey, this is this galaxy that we're so accustomed to, this little thing that we seem to have everybody all neat and tidy in. The universe itself is massive, and that there were going to be Jedi all over the universe, not just on Coruscant or the other planets we're familiar with. And I think that's what we're kind of hinting at. Like, just like with Ezra, we knew he potentially survived with Thrawn, and obviously we saw that in Ahsoka, but we knew he was going to escape and do his thing. We know that Cal Kestis, even though it's a video game, we know that there's always talk of bringing him canon, but it's like there's these different groups, these different people that we know survived. It's just how they survive, and a lot of them remain hidden. Plus, think about how many the Inquisitors have hunted down over the years. It's not just, they're really that handful. Really is probably just that handful by the time we get to A New Hope, just because of the Inquisitors.
Let's remember that there were 10,000, technically more than 10,000 Jedi Knights at the time of the Clone Wars. So let's assume that number is 12,000. If 150 of them survived, that's still a minuscule number in the grand scheme of things. And I do believe that's realistically probably more the number than a couple dozen. I think it's 100 to 200 of them that are out there, maybe even a little more than that. You still have 90+% that got murdered. And it's also important to remember that even though the Clone Wars were going on, there were still Jedi being sent on missions, which means they wouldn't have had clones there as Order 66 happens. Great book on that too, by the way. I know a lot of people read it for the Vader stuff, the Legends now, but I think it's called Dark Lord, The Rise of Darth Vader. So you got the Vader storyline. I mean, the storylines end up connecting the further you go. But the other storyline is about a group of surviving Jedi. And, I like personally, I think they've missed the boat on this. I think the really cool, non super expensive live action show they could have done could have been a group of, almost like the Seven Samurai story where you have like seven Jedi that are on the run. And as they meet comrades and friends as they go during, the dark times. And, you slowly pick them off one by one till you get to the conclusion. That to me is a show that sells itself that they have not done. So I think more so what people get caught up with is in George Lucas's original trilogy. He says, or he has Obi-Wan and Yoda say only two there are, in terms of Jedi that are left, and that of all things that you go back and change, you might want to go back and change that line, because even at that point, there's not two, there's more than two, and Yoda is aware, even at that time, that there's more than two.
I think that's a relatively simple, like in change, even if you just change that to only two masters there are. Okay. That math
two
checks
council
out.
members. Yeah, that would.
But just adding
Can't
one
think of anyone
word
else to do.
into that sentence. And it's like,
God
okay,
forbid them do that.
okay, that makes that would be a much more palatable change to me. And it wouldn't even change like the outcome. It was like once you started putting the numbers to it there while you were talking, it definitely sort of brought the tamper down. Like, actually you're right. Because the scale, like, you don't think of the scale quite so much because there are so many nameless, faceless Jedi in the Order that it is like, you don't think of them when you think of the Jedi. You think of the ones you see killed. You think of the Shaktis, the Kiadi Mundis, the ones with names and faces. You don't think of, Jedi on, Alderaan X. You just don't think of him, because you don't know his name, you don't know his story, you don't care about him. But when you put it in numbers, like, oh yeah, 100 survivors out of 10,000 is, what, less than 1%? Like it's much more. Oh yeah, no, that actually makes a lot more sense when you put numbers to it. So thank you for that. Putting numbers to it definitely sort of, I don't want to say wash that one away, but it kind of picked up that seed and pulled it out of the soil.
If there was close to say 12,000, right? Because they say there's more than 10,000. And keep in mind that number includes Padawans and younglings, etc. Even if 1,000 survived, which I don't think they did, I don't think it's anywhere close to that number. That's still over 90% of the Jedi Order that was wiped out. And so if 150 to 200 of them survived, again, I don't have a calculator out here, something tells me that's like 95 to 97% of the Order that was obliterated. That to me, I think, is acceptable. I think you need to have more guys around so you have more stories like Cal Kestis's come out. Now, should all of them wind up in some guy that tries to take on Vader and is part of the rebellion? No. Some of them should be Shakespearean tragedy, if you will. And I think there's a lot more to play off of there.
Well, I mean, think about the Grand Inquisitor. He was a Jedi Temple guard that got turned to the dark side and became an Inquisitor. Like there's stuff like that you got to think about as well, that all the Inquisitors were once Jedi. Or at least Force users that were taken at a young age and molded into Inquisitors.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a good one. I don't have issue though with people having issue with it, because I think a lot of it goes back to original trilogy stuff and verbiage that was never changed or corrected or whatever. Most people look at the original trilogy as like their Bible and stuff. So, but let's get into ranking these things here, fellas. So, episode 3, to clarify again, we kind of have the we'll call it fake battle between Maul and Devon, and him stalking her the entire episode, seducing her, if you will. And we have the police stuff picking up and the gang still getting at it. Um, I thought it was a really good episode. I thought Devin really stood out here. Like, again, may not end up being exactly how they perceived it, but like when she lunges at him there eventually and gets angry, it really felt like, okay, well, no, I definitely see a potential Talon there years and decades down the road. So I'm going to give the first one an 8.7. And then the second one, which felt like it was right out of Gotham from the Dark Knight at times, um, and a great, lightsaber duel, the gang battles happening there, the interplay with the police officer, um, everything that Lawson, I should say, I always forget his name. Um, it just had everything that I want in a Star Wars underworld, pun intended, setting, right? Like, I can't tell you how much this show feels like a modernization of like season one of the Batman animated series, where it's really dark and the title cards are very similar. And I thoroughly enjoy it. It's yeah, it's been fun, and I would give the second episode a tick higher than the fourth episode, second episode this week. I'd give it an 8.8. So I'm going 8.7 on episode 3 and 8.8 on episode 4. And yes,
What does that convert
that
you in
mean
mall legs?
that means I'm giving it 8.8 mall legs, and I'm sure some of you will be like, "That's 4.4."
Yeah, it's 4.4 pairs of mall legs.
But yeah, Johnny, what are you giving these two episodes, man? I think you were 5 and 6 last week,
Something like that.
6.5, something like that.
Something like that. I think for episode 3, I am at an even 3.5 pairs of mall legs for a 7. And for 4, I'm at, oh boy, what does the ratio break down to here?
Math is hard.
I am
Right.
3.5 full legs plus a quarter of another leg.
So 7.25.
Yes.
Okay, I had to think about that.
So did
Randy, what are you giving these two episodes, man?
So yeah, like for episode 3 for me, I agree that I liked kind of the cat and mouse thing between Maul and Devin. Like you, I picked up on the fact that he was just chiding her on and just basically trying to drive her closer to the dark side, which clearly that frustration of having to hide and having to not be able to do what she was taught to do is definitely starting to wear on her. But ultimately, I felt like there's some good character stuff there, and there was a good music, like always. The fight was really well done. It wasn't stiff like we've seen like in the Clone Wars with a lot of stuff. So that really helps a lot. I'm not going to do mall legs, but I'm definitely going to give this one an 8.5 just because it's definitely, to me, it was better than the first 2 episodes. Even though I think I gave the first one an 8 and the second one was a 7.5. So this one will go 8.5. And for episode 4, they really brought the action this time, and it was top notch. I can't remember the last time I'd seen that type of gunfight, even in Clone Wars, even in Bad Batch. Really, they really did a great job with that, mixing in the duel they're doing so well with that. I really felt it had told a story in its own right, which I thought was great. And with that, I will give Episode 4 and 8.7.
Hard to complain. We'll have to see what episodes 5 and 6 bring now that the Empire is here. I think it brings a whole new dynamic to this, obviously. I almost wonder if it's going to have a little bit of a fugitive feel. Star Wars animated shows love to mimic the fugitive. So we'll see if it goes back to
Okay,
that.
so I broke that down while he was talking. That's 4 pairs and a below the knee amputation, and 4 pairs and an amputated foot.
Oh my god!
You created this monster. Remember
you
that.
did this, Sean. This one's on you.
You created this
I'll
scale.
I'll have something new for Ahsoka later this year, or rather, Mandalorian and Grogu, which is in like a month. So, all right, let's move on. We'll be doing episodes 5 and 6 next week. Zach will be back in the host chair. Johnny will be here again, at least for the Maul portion of the review. And even though we didn't get to this till about 20 minutes into the episode, I think that we kept it pretty tidy at 36 minutes for the Maul review stuff. So CinemaCon is happening right now as we speak, actually. So anybody that thinks The Rock is going to pop out at the end of Raw, it's not happening, people. He's there. So, anyways, a lot of big reveals meant to happen. Sometimes at CinemaCon, they'll do the reveal there, and the next day or several hours later, it comes out online. Some of it leaks. It's the biggest movie theater exhibitionist type thing. It's an exhibition for the movie theater owners. It's really for them, more so than the fans. But a lot happens, and we're expecting stuff for Spider-Man Brand New Day. Sorry. Just got a weird pop-up on my phone.
Okay.
I mean, is someone trying to reach you
All right.
about your car's
Sorry about
extended
that.
warranty?
No, I thought I was having the best way to word this. A hacking issue. Yeah, it's probably the best way to word it. But we're all good. So yeah, we got CinemaCon, Spider-Man Brand New Day. I believe they might be showing something for the third Spider-Verse film. Avengers Doomsday is rumored to have something. The Mandalorian and Grogu is supposed to have something. Actually, with the Mandalorian and Grogu, as of yesterday, there started to be rumors, given that it's not tracking great theatrically in terms of the box office. Big shock. That they might actually show the whole movie there. That might be one of the big surprises. Is people might see the movie there. So
That would be either a great decision or a horrible decision.
at this point, if I were them, I would do it. Depending on what if there's something tangible in like the last act of the movie that brings it all together, and you've been hiding, big surprise. And I don't necessarily mean that has to be a cameo. Then yeah, I would do it. But if the movie is, Mando season 4 trimmed down like most of us expect, yeah, maybe not. But that's been a rumor out there. We'll be covering it a bit next Monday for what comes out of this week. It's a week-long thing, right? So, I believe they might do something Starfighter-wise, which is kind of surprising considering Mandalorian Grogu comes out in a month. So, might tell you about their confidence in that film. I mean, I don't know what it tells you if they end up showing Mando and Grogu to audiences there. So, but Ryan Gosling's apparently there for Starfighter. So, we'll see what comes of that. My question is, we haven't really gotten a trailer for Avengers Doomsday yet. There was those very brief teases that were released around Christmas time. Um, do we think that CinemaCon brings the first Avengers Doomsday trailer? Would be my big question to you guys. Not necessarily released publicly either.
I think it's not a bad idea. I feel like if you have enough and you have at least something, does not just, you know, Thor will return and Captain America will return, the X-Men will be there. Like if they have something that doesn't even have to be a full 2.5 minute trailer, it can be just an easy 90-second. Here's a quick rundown. I mean, it's better than nothing, and I feel like we're getting to that point where they have to start ramping up anyway. So it's almost like, as an example, dropping a teaser now and then attaching it to Mando Grogu, since we're only a month out. Like, do you feel like, I feel like since it's Disney, that would make sense to start doing that and putting stuff out there like that for what the properties are going to try to push out later this year, since people are going to go see it. Especially the same with Spider-Man Brand New Day, or if they wait that long to attach it to that, like, it makes sense to have something there.
I mean, I think it's going to have some sort of presence. Whether that's a full trailer or not, I can't say for certain. I wouldn't inherently be surprised.
It did just have a test screening, a very early test screening that got out there, and apparently it's been nothing but positive. People compared it to the Infinity War test screening, so people at Disney are happy with that.
I mean, that's reassuring to me.
Also, though, like, the other people at Disney are going, I can't believe people are talking about the test screening. You really think a sheet of paper stops someone from running home and talking on the computer? Like, come on.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I think there's going to be something. What that something is, that I don't know. Whether that's a full trailer or just another series of, character profile trailers, I guess is kind of what I took to calling the ones we got around Christmas. Because there are still a lot of big characters that didn't get one that we know are in the film. So I wouldn't be surprised if there's another drop of them or something like that. But we are definitely...
Were you here when we talked about the likely opening scene spoiler? I feel like Zach might have been here that week and not you.
I don't recall being here for that, but...
So I won't spoil it, but I will say this. And it seems like it's, by all means, it seems like it's accurate, but until you see the film, you just don't know. To your point, in terms of there's a bunch more characters that could get like a character profile trailer. Well, the whole big ass action opening sequence that begins the film, at least to my knowledge, none of those people have even been officially confirmed to be in the movie. So, and yet apparently are. So, I don't know how much of it they're going to try to stay tight-lipped or not, but I wouldn't be shocked if they went the character profile way for more than what we've seen so far.
Like I said, I think we're getting to that point where they got to ramp it up. So this would be a really good opportunity to put something out there that we know eventually we'll see attached to a movie that we're going to go see this summer.
Yeah, they don't have the build that some of the previous Avengers movies had going for them. 1 second here, fellas.
This winter, by the way. You said this summer.
Oh, sorry. Yes.
Well, I said attached to the movies we're going to see this summer.
Oh, okay.
but they still need to. They need to market this thing properly. Like I think they're looking. I don't think they're looking at Avengers Doomsday as $1 billion film. I think they want this thing to be closer to $2 billion, if not more. If you want that, you got to market it properly. You absolutely do.
I think, and this is just a me. I think that the plan is to save the big trailer for August and drop it at D23. Because that sort of seems to be their thing. Like they kind of like to keep the big stuff in house, and that's obviously the biggest in-house event they have upcoming between now and the release of this film. And August is definitely a good point to ramp up the full machine, and run that
There's
train.
always CinemaCon too.
Yeah.
It's where they made the Downey announcement. I don't know how far away that is from now, but
I believe Comic-Con's usually in end of June, early July.
okay.
I believe.
Yeah, if
It's
you got
an
San
early
Diego,
summer.
San Diego, and then later in the year, as we get closer to the release of the movie, I'm sure they'll have something for New York Comic Con as well.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. We'll have to wait and see. They're being very, as quiet as they can be, but it's not preventing leaks.
I like it.
Well,
I like the quiet.
yeah, I still want to see it do good, though. You know what I mean? Like the worst thing ever is getting invested. Clearly they're not going to not make Avengers: Secret Wars, but in today's day and age, it's so easy to get into something and then it doesn't do well, and all of a sudden that something disappears. Not that this movie has a risk of that, but enough losses in a row, and you never know. We mentioned Mando and Grogu not tracking well right now. It's tracking for $70 to $85 million opening weekend,
Yikes!
which is just North American, but still not very good. There's people that are convinced, certain Star Wars diehards, that are convinced this thing's going to make $1 billion. I don't think it's going to.
There's no universe where you can make $1 billion where you don't make north of 125 opening weekend. I don't think there's a single universe where that happens.
Yeah, and how you do on the foreign markets are going to be, like, worldwide, is going to be super important to what your grand total ends up being. I don't think it'll make anywhere close to $1 billion, but I don't think
remotely.
I don't think it's going to lose money, but I do think it's going to be like, oh, this wasn't the massive financial success that we were hoping for.
I think at this rate, just hope for recouping your cost and maybe get a little something out of it on top of it. But
are you kidding me? At this point, I think they're hoping for tax write-off.
Wrong country for that. Because there are some countries that will do that if a movie bombs hard enough. But no, I think
you're right. America is the country that would just pull it off the shelves before releasing it for tax write-off. Cough, Batgirl, cough.
Yeah, that's a bummer.
Coyote.
No, that's been bought and is getting a cinematic release this summer.
Mm-hmm. Oh, finally.
Yep.
Took long enough.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it'll make its money back and make a little bit of money on top of that. Which, by the way, there's going to be some people that are going to go, it only needs to make $167 million. No,
wrong.
That's the production budget, which ended up being $67 million more than what they originally thought it was going to be. How, I don't fucking know at this point, but hopefully lots of good CG shit and hours that went into it. Because in terms of on-set reporting, I don't see how they went $67 million over the initial budget, but it is what it is, I guess. But then you have the marketing budget.
And if you don't think they're putting at least $100 million into the marketing of a Star Wars film, you are
usually with a movie like this one I'm going to say is not that way, but a lot of big budget blockbuster films spend $350 million on marketing in an effort to try to have a big hit and make their money back. And also, by the way, people, this does not include the cut that the theaters get. Yes, that's a thing. How do you think theaters are still open? So that $167 million budget, well, yeah, they try. That $167 million production budget, realistically, to break even with this movie, you're probably going to need to make $425 million, maybe $450 million worldwide. And I do think it'll do that, but I don't think it's going to do much more than that. You know, a little better than Solo, essentially. Last but not least, fellas, rights deals, right? Too many chefs in the kitchen when it comes to Halloween. People are getting antsy. They want to know what's going on with the TV show. They want to know what's going on with the 50th anniversary movie. I'm seeing more chatter online. I've been messaged a few times about it too. And it's like, if you watch our Monday show, people, then you know as much as we do at the moment. But the one thing I can tell you this, while going back and listening to Taking Shape 2 over the last couple of weeks, is Miramax and Trancas and other companies in Trancas in the past that have done the Halloween movies have a history of creative differences and things not going forward. A long fucking history, hence Taking Shape 2 being the size of a telephone book. It's not good. These companies don't get along, and the worst part about it is, you know, I'm sure Friday the 13th fans are sitting over there going, "Oh, cry me a river," and they'd be right to say that. But to Halloween fans, don't be so quick to mock them. Here's the issue that you have: is your film rights are not like Trancas doesn't outright own the films. Trancas owns the complete rights to Halloween 1, Halloween 4, and Halloween 5. And that is it. The rest are all co-owned, including future Halloween movies that come out, and they're co-owned between Trancas and Miramax. Well, Miramax also won the bidding for the Halloween TV series. So I'm not saying this is happening, but it has happened in the past, at least on the movie side. You know, you can tell me I'm off, you know, my rocker here, but if Trancas isn't liking the direction Miramax is trying to go with the TV series, which has been one of the reports that's been out there for a bit, unable to get on the same page, you don't think that's also going to cause issues with the 50th anniversary movie with the same two parties unwilling to budge? And before anyone says, "Oh, we're talking about millions of dollars involved," Spike doesn't get involved. This is Hollywood. Spike gets involved every day that ends in day. Or ends in Y. Sorry. Day. Wow. Ends in Y. Butchered that one. It's all the time. All the time. Larry David literally did a whole fucking season of Curb about Spike. And if anyone knows, it's that fucking guy. So it doesn't look great at the moment, is what I'm saying. And you might be in for a wait here. I hope not. I hope cooler heads prevail. There absolutely should be a movie in theaters for the 50th anniversary. It's not rocket science to do this thing properly, guys. Whether it happens or not, though, who knows? We'll have more on that as we go. We are going to bring things to an end, though. Johnny V, where can we find you at, man?
Oh, you can find me here, there, and everywhere.
No one here to steal your thunder. By the way, we are thinking about Dustin and his partner, life, and I believe today was the due date.
They are at the hospital.
Are they? Okay. Did he send a message back?
He did.
Okay, I didn't get a chance to see that. So awesome. Our thoughts are obviously with him and his family, and hoping for a safe delivery there. And Tommy B is not far behind him in regards to that. Zach's off doing who knows what this week. What about you, Randy? What do you got going on?
Not a whole lot. Just you know, if you want to follow me, just basically retweets and a few odd comments here and there, you can follow me at Giggity Giles. Sean, I think one of the things I think we do need to work on is let's get some gaming stuff going, because I know when Halloween rolls around and we're all going to be buying that and playing the hell out of that as a group, I think we need to see if we can get something going there too.
I agree. No argument there. Just finding the right time to do it. So. All right. For Johnny V, for Randy, I'm Sean. And we will see you again next Monday to review episodes 5 and 6 of Maul Shadow Lord. But until then, good night.